The wine caught me off guard that morning. I was standing on the porch barefoot, a cup of coffee cooling between my palms. The Georgia air carried that soft, uncertain chill that lingers before the day fully wakes. A sudden gust lifted the hem of my robe, and as I reached to steady it, I noticed movement. Dot. It was him, my daughter's husband. He stopped mid-step, his eyes locking with mine. For a moment, neither of us breathed. It wasn't surprise on his face, not quite. It was something weightier, something that made the quiet between us feel strangely dangerous. And even when he finally turned away, that moment didn't fade. It hung there, pressing against my ribs, tightening my breath. Dot. My name is Maryanne. I'm 58, and I've learned that when silence chooses to speak, it can thunder louder than any storm. I live alone now in the same White House where my husband once promised me forever. He walked away 2 years ago, claiming he needed space. He found that space with a woman half my age. I didn't run after him. I simply stopped waiting. Dot. My daughter married young, 8 years back. She stood in this same yard beneath strings of warm lights, smiling like the whole world had opened just for her. In those days, her husband was kind, hopeful, full of light. They visited every Sunday, laughter, chatter, the hum of family filling every corner. Dot. Now the house is mostly quiet. He still comes by, she doesn't anymore. He always says she's busy, work, deadlines, something vague. But I see the truth in his eyes. That distant, empty look of someone holding on to something already turning cold. That morning he tried to play it off. "Morning," he said, his voice light but unsteady. I tightened my robe, pretending nothing strange had passed between us. "You're early," I replied, though I hadn't expected him at all. He offered a small, nervous smile. "Your back porch light was out. Thought I'd fix it." A lie. I had told no one about that. Still, I stepped aside. Dot. As he walked past me, slow, careful, close, something shifted. Not in the room, in me. Dot. He changed the bulb, and we talked about small things, the weather, his job, the kind of loneliness you try not to name. And when he left, the silence that settled in the house wasn't calm, it was crowded. That night I stood before my mirror, not studying the lines around my eyes or the silver in my hair, but something else entirely. I kept wondering what he saw when he looked at me, and worse, why I wanted to know. 2 days later he came again. Another excuse, another lie. This time it was the fence latch. Said he noticed it needed fixing. I didn't question it. I let him in. We sat in the kitchen, the clock ticking too loudly, the air heavier than it should have been. Dot. Then he asked softly, "You okay?" Such a simple question, and yet it cracked something inside me. "I'm fine," I said, though we both knew I wasn't. He nodded, distant. "Sometimes," he murmured, "I look at her and feel like she had drifted somewhere I could no longer reach." I hesitated, a familiar stir settling deep in my chest. "Marriage does that," I murmured softly. "It turns love into memory before you even notice." A faint, sad smile brushed his lips, gentle, resigned. And in that fragile instant, we understood each other far too well. When he reached for his mug, his hand brushed mine for a heartbeat, and that was all it took. Enough to shift the ground beneath us. After that, he began coming more often. At first, it was small tasks, the mailbox hinge, a dripping faucet, a loose board on the porch. Then the excuses disappeared entirely. He came simply because he wanted to. Sometimes he brought coffee, sometimes flowers, no explanations. We talked about everything and nothing, about how the days blur when loneliness stretches too long, about how silence can be both shelter and punishment. Somewhere in those conversations, I realized something that startled me. I didn't want him to leave. One evening, sunlight poured golden through the kitchen window as he set down his cup and whispered, "I think about you more than I should." My pulse climbed into my throat. The room seemed to hold its breath. Do you think about her when you're here? I asked quietly. He looked away, and I tried to too. The air thickened between us, the kind of silence that doesn't merely linger, but dares you to move. He lifted his hand, hesitated, waiting. I didn't move closer, but I didn't step back either. Sometimes betrayal doesn't begin with touch. It begins with permission. After that night, nothing felt the same. He lingered longer. His visit stretched from minutes into hours. We'd sit on the porch in the soft evening light, pretending the world outside had ceased to exist. He asked about my garden, the books I was reading, the places I once dreamed of visiting. And I found myself opening up, sharing memories long packed away, the story of my first job, the laughter that once filled this